All right, I'm going to share the 13 hacks that can make any current freight broker or future freight broker 99% more disciplined that costs nothing, okay? These are the strategies that I use to go from like a distracted, jobless 30-year-old with ADHD, self-prescribed, to consistently crushing every hard task without fail. You can start using these hacks today, even if you lack motivation and have been for years. Don't depend on your morning alarm. Like, not really literally, just hear me out. How many times have you hit the snooze button this week or spent like 30 minutes to an hour like scrolling on your phone before finally like schlumping out of bed? Depending on your alarm, especially snoozing, trains you to procrastinate from the very first moment of your day. And if your first daily decision is delaying getting up, you're already losing momentum. Instead, wake up consistently without using your alarm as a crutch. And that means going to bed early enough so you wake up naturally, or at least with only one alarm, and then absolutely no snoozing. Flip your routine by setting a bedtime alarm, and that reminds you to go to sleep on time. Keep your morning alarm as like a safety net for sure, but aim to not rely on it. Waking up on your own, like, that builds confidence and discipline, and it proves that you're in control, not your alarm clock. Number 2 is win the morning with a routine. So you've heard the saying, win the morning, win the day. It's cliche, but it's true. A solid morning routine creates the momentum you need for the daily consistency we're looking for now as future or current freight broker business owners. And it doesn't have to be complicated, like just something that gives you a sense of control before diving into work. And for me, that means putting away the dishes from the dishwasher, making the bed, and throwing a load of laundry first thing in the morning. And that way, if my email inbox is a total disaster and it takes an hour just to figure out a solution for my very first urgent email, I know in the back of my mind that I've already accomplished something before I even sat down at my desk. I also start my morning, I actually do this, by putting 32 ounces of water in a blender, that's a full Nalgene, with ice. And I make the coldest slushy imaginable, because hydrating immediately wakes you up 10 times more than straight up coffee and then catching up on hydration a few hours later. Though I do still have an espresso shot, I'm not a psychopath, right? I do all of that stuff, and then I walk my dog, and then I log onto my computer. And this routine helped me go from rolling straight out of bed right into chaos, putting me into a shitty mood right away, to laser focused, immediate problem solving mode, and not immediately turned off by the day if the first thing I have to handle for my brokerage is a hot load that was missed. When you win your morning before work even starts, you build momentum that carries through the rest of the day. A morning routine doesn't have to be long or complicated. What's important is consistency. And by doing the same positive actions each morning, you're telling your brain it's go time, okay? If you're a carrier thinking about the brokerage side, it's like warming up the engine of a truck during the winter before a long haul, all right? A common myth is that you need motivation to start your day strong. Not true. You need routine. Discipline is built on habits, not fleeting motivation. So once you consistently follow a morning routine, you're training your discipline muscle daily. And after checking those morning boxes, you're already feeling accomplished by 7, 8 a.m., and that's the momentum that propels you into a productive day. Number 3 is prioritize and eat the frog. It sounds really weird and cringy, but first, every freight broker has at least one frog each day, okay? That one big, ugly task you really don't want to do, but absolutely need to do. And it could be calling a difficult client and delivering bad news, or like negotiating a tough rate, or like sorting out some strategic emails you've been avoiding. Why? Because if you get the hardest task out of the way early, everything else feels easier by comparison for the rest of the day. Mark Twain, the great American novel guy, said that if you have to eat a live frog, do it first thing in the morning so nothing worse can happen the rest of the day. When I force myself to tackle my hardest task, like a nerve-wracking 7 a.m. client call for an East Coast customer first thing, my productivity skyrocketed. I dreaded it the night before, but once it was done, I felt lighter and more confident, and everything after was easier. Anxiety is a direct correlation to inaction. Instead of letting this big task or multiple tasks that you don't want to do live rent-free in your mind, just get it over with and let your Garmin stress numbers take a break. Number 4 is work in sprints, the Pomodoro technique. Discipline doesn't mean grinding nonstop for 12 hours straight. Your brain needs breaks to sustain high performance. This is where working in sprints comes in, specifically the Pomodoro technique. It's a fancy name, but really it's pretty simple. You work in focused bursts, usually 25 minutes long, and then you take a short break for 5 minutes and then repeat. Why does this help? Because knowing you only have to concentrate for a short sprint makes it easier to start and keeps you on task, knowing that you're going to take a break very soon. And this method especially is great if you tend to get distracted easily. Hello, fellow ADHD folks. And by giving yourself permission to pause, it's easier to ignore distractions now. Another thing I personally tried for a couple weeks until I got the hang of it on my own was I bought this exact timer right in front of me. I set it for 25 minutes, every 25 minutes, which forced me to get up and do something productive. And that's the important part, like doing something productive. So laundry, dishes, make your bed, vacuum, organize something. And this reinforces the fact that you've accomplished and are accomplishing more things throughout the day if work stuff hasn't given you that feeling on its own. Number 5 is turn off all notifications. Maybe you get an email, a text, an Instagram, TikTok alert, whatever. Your phone and your computer are distraction machines if you let them be. It's hard to avoid your computer, obviously, it's right there. There's ways around it. To be highly disciplined, you need to guard your focus. And one of the easiest free hacks is turning off all non-essential notifications on your computer and your phone. Every time you get interrupted by a ping, studies show that after a distraction, it can take 23 minutes on average to fully get back on task, even though you think that's BS. Think about it though. Yes, you're getting back to work again. You're doing things when you come back from doom scrolling on your phone for like 2 seconds, but you then lost your perfect string of thoughts that took the last half hour to get to. And the reason a lot of people think it's BS is because they can't remember what they forgot. And the solution, go on a notifications purge. Turn off notifications on your phone for everything besides calls on your phone. You need to call carriers and customers, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, news, your grandma. All right, keep that one on maybe just in case. Any app that isn't truly critical. What I do is I use the app ScreenZen. It's not sponsored, I wish, but hey, hit me up though if you see this, and lock out every app that I know is a distraction between 8 and 5 p.m. It's so hard. It is so hard at the start, but you get used to it and you realize how much more focused you actually are. Number 6 is start with the Big Domino. When your day is filled with dozens of different tasks as a freight broker or an agent, it's easy to get lost in the weeds. Start your day with the Big Domino, and this means identifying the one task that will have the most significant impact on your day or business, and the task that, if completed, will make many other tasks easier or even irrelevant, like a line of dominoes falling. Every morning, ask yourself, if I could only get one thing done today, which task would make the biggest impact or make other tasks easier? And this is different from the frog we were talking about. The Big Domino isn't necessarily the ugliest task, it's the most impactful. It could even be something you enjoy, or like a high leverage opportunity that you've maybe neglected. For example, I realized spending my first hour or first 10 minutes, whatever, reaching out to a potential high volume client, my Big Domino, gave a far greater payoff than using that hour on 10 small admin tasks. Like, those little tasks still obviously need doing, but after I knocked out the big one, some of those smaller to-dos either became easier or irrelevant after that point. How to execute this hack, okay? First of all, we need to identify it. Determine the one high impact task for the day and label it your Big Domino, okay? Tackle it when you have the most energy, which is usually in the morning after you've chugged all that water, you've had your coffee, whatever, and guard that time from distractions, okay? Then observe the effect. Like, notice how once it's done, many other tasks just fall into place or aren't as urgent anymore, okay? By doing this every day, you'll make real progress instead of just like shuffling papers and putting out small fires. It's an amazing feeling to knock out one thing that matters most, and it builds confidence and discipline because you see big results and you want to repeat it. Line up your dominoes and then just tip over the big one first. The rest of the day will almost take care of itself. Number 7 is stack your habits. One of the best ways to build discipline, it isn't by willpower, but by designing your habits smartly. Habit stacking means linking a new habit to an existing one, so the old habit triggers the new one. Here we go, ready? It's like coupling the tractor with the trailer. The first habit pulls the second one along. We all have everyday habits, whether we realize it or not. For example, I want to review freight market trends every day. And I already had a morning coffee habit, so I stacked them. And every morning as I make coffee, that triggers me to spend 5 to 10 minutes checking market updates. Coffee brewing equals time to review, okay? Because I have coffee every day, the new habit is now anchored to it, okay? So to use habit stacking yourself, place a habit you already do without fail every day, okay? Like after brushing your teeth, or after lunch, or like when you literally start your car. Like, decide on a small new habit that would boost your day. Like, review your to-do list, okay? Do 5 push-ups, reach out to a shipper you haven't called in a while just to catch up, etc. Every time you do your existing habit, do the new one right after. And if you forget, do it as soon as you remember and reinforce the link next time. And before long, you've had a chain of behaviors that runs on autopilot, so you need less and less conscious effort to do them. Early on, you might need a reminder here and there, but soon it becomes second nature. Number 8 is learning to say no. And this was one of the hardest for me to get used to, but probably one of my favorites now. It might sound negative, but saying no is actually about protecting your time and focus, which is crucial for discipline. As a freight broker, you'll get countless demands of your time, meeting requests, favors. You have opportunities that aren't really opportunities. You have like social invites, like you name it. Learning to say no to things that don't align with your goals is a superpower by itself. And every time you say yes to something, you're essentially saying no to something else that might be more important. And if you agree to everything, you'll have no time or energy left for the things that truly matter. I was like, I'm my own boss now. You know, I can do whatever. The money then wouldn't roll in, and then I'd look back and be like, all right, maybe, you know what? Maybe golfing in the middle of a Monday didn't quite help that out. All right. I said yes to avoid disappointing others. That's what I was doing, but I ended up disappointing myself in the end and hurting my business. And my schedule, it was a mess. Like, I worked late to catch up, and I felt constantly stretched thin. Then I began saying no, or at least like not now, to things that weren't urgent or important. If one of my friends wanted to catch up and chat during the prime work hours, nah, let's talk after 5. Let's say a client asked me for like an off-scope favor that would completely derail my day. Nah, can't do that today. An invite to binge a show when I plan to prep for tomorrow, even though it's the full Lord of the Rings series, and yes, I love Lord of the Rings. No, I would have to pass on that too. And it felt uncomfortable at first, but guess what? The world didn't end. My friends didn't go away. My clients were still there for the projects that they asked me to do that weren't that important. People adjusted and respected my time more. Always consider the trade-off. Like, if you say yes to this, what are you saying no to? And if accepting a request means sacrificing your sleep or family time or progress on like a main project, then it's probably a no. Everyone has a limited amount of time and energy in the day. Protect yours fiercely. Don't be a people-pleasing machine. It's very easy for people to get hung up on and get used to. be strategic with your yes and generous with your no. It's one of the most liberating discipline hacks out there. Number 9 is clean your pantry. Your discipline at work is heavily influenced by your physical well-being and environment. Cleaning out your pantry, like that can be taken literally, like literally removing junk food, and metaphorically, like removing any temptations in your environment, so you don't rely on willpower so much. On a literal level, what you eat during the day matters. If your pantry or desk drawer is full of candy or soda or junk, you'll grab that in stressful moments, and then you will crash later. And that's why you crash at noon every day. It happened to me before. If you're a carrier right now, you know how hard it is to get access to healthy food. So a lot of the time you probably depend on gas station or truck stop food, which you know by now shuts you down. I learned this myself. There was a candy drawer in my old office, and I would munch on that during morning calls. Sure enough, sugar rush, crash, leaving me more tired and unfocused. Discipline isn't just mental, it is physical too. So get rid of the junk and stock up on healthier snacks, okay? Nuts, fruits, whatever. If bad options aren't available to you, you can't choose them. So again, not sponsored, but every time I go to the grocery store, I use an app. It's called Bobby Approved. So when I scan a label, it'll show me if there's bad ingredients in there or not. The branding on some of these foods is insane. It makes you feel as though it's actually healthy. A lot of it is not. It's actually really scary. Your environment will almost always beat your willpower in the long run. So set up your environment for success. Now for the metaphorical pantry, which is any part of your environment that tempts you away from disciplined behavior. Is your desk cluttered with distractions? Like, do you have old paperwork? Do you have empty soda cans that could have been thrown away a week ago? Like, look, I have a tool on my desk. I don't know what I used it for, but it's been there for a few days. Why do I still have it on my desk? Spend 5 minutes to tidy it up and keep it clean. A clean space equals a clearer mind. And you can take it to the next level and do your whole house. I'm just saying, you might need it. Also, is your digital environment full of tempting time wasters, social media, or distracting bookmarks you might glance at on the top of your browser that could possibly distract you? YouTube. All right, well, I approve watching my channel. I'm just saying. Basically, remove easy access to anything that tends to derail you. And if you see something that could distract you, you'll be gravitated towards it. So, like, why have it physically in your vision? Number 10 is delete useless decisions. Do you ever feel mentally exhausted by midday just from deciding what to wear or like what to eat and when to do tasks? Like, that's decision fatigue. And our brains only have a limited amount of capacity for decisions each day. And the more trivial choices you make, the less mental energy you have for the important stuff. The solution: literally delete useless decisions from your daily life. It's as easy as that. In practice, this means automating, eliminating, or pre-deciding the small stuff so you don't waste brain power on it. Many famously disciplined people do this, okay? Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. Mark Zuckerberg, he sticks to the same gray t-shirts. And the key there is that he has a bunch of different gray shirts, not just one. That's gross, okay? Get a bulk pack, all right? They removed the, what to wear decision entirely because they knew the value of their decision-making energy. And you can do the same on a smaller scale. So streamline your wardrobe. Simplify your clothing choices. Like, since you're at home now as a freight broker, you can work wherever you want. Choose a basic work uniform, okay? Or decide, which can be PJs. It doesn't matter. Or decide your outfit the night before so you don't waste time each morning trying to figure it out. Plan your meals next, okay? Have a go-to breakfast and a lunch. Then let's set a default schedule. So structure your day so you already know what to do and when. For example, if 9 to 11 a.m. is always prospecting calls and 11 a.m. to noon is paperwork, there's no decision to be made. Like, you just follow the routine. Obviously adjust when real emergencies come up, or if you maybe don't get a call from grandma. All right, maybe good time to check in. By cutting out those little choices, you preserve willpower and clarity for what really matters and for the unpredictable issues that will inevitably come up. And when I started doing this, I was shocked at how much more mental energy I had by the afternoon. I used to burn out by 3 p.m. because my brain was so fried from all those tiny decisions. And now a lot of it is on autopilot. Like, I know what I'm wearing and I'm eating and doing at set times. And it might sound boring, but it does free up room for creativity, which you need as a freight brokerage owner and focused on work, because now my mind isn't bogged down in minutia. And if you're shutting down at noon a lot, by the way, you're more than likely very dehydrated. Another good time to chug a glass of water. All right. Also, reducing decision overload lowers your stress tremendously. Like, you feel in control and less chaotic. It's like cleaning up mental clutter. Like, just as you cleared your physical pantry, now you're clearing your decision pantry. Number 11 is find disciplined friends. Like, you've probably heard the saying that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And when it comes to discipline, it's absolutely true. Like, if you surround yourself with disciplined, goal-oriented people, their habits and mindset will rub off on you. Conversely, if your circle is full of procrastinators or unmotivated people, you'll slide into those patterns too, no matter how hard you try. Like, maybe you'll go through a couple weeks of motivation trying to work against their influence, but you'll always come back to square one if you don't actually start to take action and make friends that'll support you. So consciously build a circle of friends who will hold you accountable and inspire you. For me, a turning point was befriending now over 200 members in our freight broker and agent startup Discord group. Everyone there is serious about growing their brokerages or agencies and want to be as disciplined as possible with their schedule. Naturally, without even planning it, we are starting to kind of hold each other accountable now with quick check-ins, like, what are your big goals this week? Or how did you do last week? Nothing formal, but knowing I'd have to tell someone my progress made me step up my game. And I didn't want to be the guy with excuses. So the result is that we're all leveling up together. A bunch of our members are starting their own freight brokerages from scratch or working at a current freight brokerage looking to improve their sales. And we're struggling to book a single load a day to now running a huge book of business. And everyone seeing each other's success creates a positive competition and support system. Discipline really is contagious. Maybe you don't have a friend or group in your life like this yet, and that's okay. Seek one out. Spend time with people who talk about ideas or goals or self-improvement, and you'll naturally start adopting those behaviors too. I currently have a 2-month bet with 2 of my friends where we have to work out 5 times per week. It can be anything active for 30 minutes or longer, or a 2-mile or more run. And if any of us miss a day during one of those weeks, we owe $250 to the group. And if we all perfectly complete the challenge after the end of the 2 months, we get to award ourselves with a trip to Vegas. And none of us want to be the guy that messes that up. So yes, we're 1 month in with a perfect streak so far. Disciplined friends also understand when you say, I need to go work on this instead, and they won't push you to slack off or go to the bar or get a few beers instead, which also, by the way, affects your next day if you're stuck in that rhythm. And in fact, they'll encourage you, the right friends, to stay on track because they value discipline too. Be willing to be the initiator. And if you have friends who could be more disciplined, suggest a challenge or a weekly check-in too. You might be surprised that they'll welcome it. And so learn from your disciplined friends if you currently have some. Watch how they structure their day or they handle their setbacks. And sometimes you might need to distance yourself a bit from people who consistently drag you down or mock your efforts. You don't necessarily have to cut them off, but just be mindful of how much influence they have on you. Number 12 is write down your goals and keep them visible. Doing this is a powerful habit used by a lot of top athletes, entrepreneurs, successful freight brokers. It's simple, but it's effective. Writing goals down makes them tangible, consistently reminds you what you're working towards. Put the goals where you'll see them daily, like a sticky note on your monitor or a vision board with images of your ideal future, which sounds super weird, but it's gaining a lot of popularity really fast because they're proven to work, or like a clear reminder on your phone background. Regularly seeing your goals reinforces your focus and it strengthens that discipline we've been talking about. For example, if your goal is to build a brokerage that hits a certain revenue or a client milestone, explicitly write it down. Include images on your vision board representing your success, contracts being signed, like your target bank account balance, or visuals of financial freedom for your family. Why does this work? Visible goals are harder to ignore or forget, especially when motivation dips. They quickly reconnect you with your purpose and remind you exactly why you're pushing through tough daily tasks. When I built my brokerage, seeing my written goals and vision board every morning provided clear meaning and urgency. Like, it wasn't idle dreaming anymore. Like, it gave me a purpose to my daily actions. So just like, remember, clear vision goals only help when paired with consistent action. Number 13 is the 15-second rule. And to get started, like, sometimes the hardest part of a task is simply starting. And so you might know exactly what you need to do, like call the client, like draft the proposal, like clean up the database, whatever. But you maybe just can't seem to find a way to begin. And this is where the 5-second rule comes in. It was a hack. It was made famous by Mel Robbins, like New York Times bestselling author, 21 million followers online, considered the most sought after expert in life improvement and mindset and behavior change. So no big deal. All right, mildly credible. It's incredibly simple and it works to kickstart your action in any given moment. I do it all the time, multiple times a day. When you have the instinct to do something productive, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then move forward with that before your brain can come up with an excuse to not do it. It basically interrupts your hesitation. And if you wait too long, your brain will start overthinking and come up with an excuse to avoid whatever it is. Counting down from 5 interrupts that pattern, and it gives you a tiny window to act before your brain convinces you to procrastinate. I've used this so many times. For example, I'm sitting there knowing I need to make a follow-up call to a prospect, but I'm feeling some resistance because that client sucks. The thought comes, you know what, I should call them, but I've got my dog right here. I could just pet her instead. And then immediately I think, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, on go, I pick up the phone and I just start dialing before any other thought can stop me. And by the time it rings, I'm committed and petting my dog while I'm on the phone. All right, it takes just 5 seconds of courage and then I'm in motion. You can use this for literally anything. Getting out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get the heck up, all right? Starting your workout, opening a blank spreadsheet that you've been avoiding because it sounds really boring. And it might sound too easy, but that's the beauty of it. Like, it's like launching a rocket, like countdown and then ignition. There's no backing out, okay? Once you're moving, momentum carries you forward. Use this whenever you're starting to feel tired in the middle of the day or some kind of resistance, especially on the frog tasks we were talking about before. If you catch yourself wanting to procrastinate, just start counting down and then physically move. I've trained myself that when I start counting, it means we are doing this right now. The more you use it, the more it becomes a habit to act quickly. And over time, you might not even need to use the countdown because you'll naturally become an action taker. You can also use it to break mental inertia. Like if you catch yourself drifting off during work, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, brother, and snap back into focus. Do this repeatedly, and it trains you to become an action taker by default. And if you like the idea of creating a freight brokerage that nobody else can compete with, then watch this video next, and I will show you exactly how to create a freight brokerage that generated me millions and billions and trillions. All right, but again, maybe just millions. I'll see you on the next one.